What's up, guys? It's Kaylee and Eddie. Today we took you on the glass bottom boat. We came over to the other side where the campground is, and we were going to take you through this village, but it's not open right now. Hopefully in the fall we'll come back and it'll be open, then we can take a tour through that. But what you see behind us is the structures of the village.
That's where you came in at. And we head to the nearest shore. As soon as the first person hits the water, a highly trained alligator rescue team is dispatched to help you guys get to shore. Unfortunately, though, they are a bit pricey, so it may cost you an arm and a leg for their services. But folks, welcome aboard the world-famous glass bottom boats at beautiful Silver Springs. We have been doing glass bottom boat rides since 1878. This particular vessel, the Chief Micanopy, was built in 1965. That is ordinary glass you are looking through, although it is a half-inch thick. I did put a solution on it, because with the heat and humidity today and the cold water underneath, that glass would have fogged up so fast you folks wouldn't see anything. All our enclosed boats like this are named after Seminole chiefs. Silver Springs, though, was the premier tourist destination in Florida for a long time. It predated the Mouse by a lot. In fact, it was the first tourist destination in Florida. Back then, it was privately owned. But over the course of time, it fell into disrepair. So much so that in 2013, the state was able to acquire the park. When the state got a hold of the park, they got a hold of over 4,800 acres. A lot of it is wet. 120 plus springs. 30 of them are named, and collectively they will produce over 850 million gallons of water a day at peak flow. All the water that comes out of the ground here at Silver Springs is at 72 degrees year-round and 98% pure. Now, one industry that's been thriving here in the park for decades and still going strong is the filming industry. The first movie that was done here was in 1916. It was a black and white silent movie called The Seven Swans. Since then, over 250 movies, TV shows, and documentaries have been filmed here, and are continuing to be filmed here to this day. Now, the first spring we go to, we call Spring of the Stars, to honor the stars that have worked here. Stars like James Dean filmed Rebel Without a Cause here at Silver Springs. Jackie Gleason, Burt Reynolds, Jerry Lewis, Tom Cruise, Jane Mansfield, Lloyd Bridges, to name a few of the other stars that have done projects here. And let us not forget the Olympic gold medal swimmer, Johnny Weissmuller, who did the first 6 Tarzan movies right here at Silver Springs. Now, as we're heading into the first spring, what we're going to look for down through the glass will be a flat, gray, rectangular rock surrounded on 3 sides by white sand. The 4th side will be a hill with some of this marine growth on it. I will let you know when it's coming underneath the boat. But in the meantime, enjoy the view of the bottom, because I'm relatively sure you don't get to see a bottom of a river too often. Oh yeah? There's alligators here. first spring starting to come underneath the boat, it's going to be that flat gray rock surrounded on three sides by white sand. It has a big stick on it. The split above the rock is where the water comes out of. Everybody starting to see it? This spring is in 26 feet of water. Movie people tell us that this is a good depth to film at because it gives you the illusion of deep water without the hassles of filming in deep water. Now everybody saw the rock? Guys up front, you good? All right. Now the next spring that we go to was an actual movie set. Back in 1954, there was a horror movie that was filmed here. It was called The Creature from the Black Lagoon. A local man named Rico Browning became the Creature. Rico got the job basically for two reasons. First, he could hold his breath over 4 minutes. And second, probably just as important as the first, he fit the costume. So what we're looking for right now will be a V-shaped opening in the white sand coming up. Today, it's the spring. But back in 1954, it was the Creature's lair, his den. And this is the first place in the movie the Creature appears. He appears being swimming out of this spring. And if any of you folks would like to see one of the original costumes worn by Rico, it's in our Discovery Center, which is in the building across from where you got on the boat. Now the V-shape is starting underneath the boat right now. Rico would darn his costume, swim down there 31 feet, back himself up into that V, wait for the director's signal for action, do whatever the script called to do, the whole time holding his breath. Then in 1955 and again in 56, they made two more Creature movies here. Revenge of the Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Creature Walks Among Us. Now, out of curiosity, how many of you folks on board have seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon? A couple. Pretty much the folks I figured. Well, for the rest of you folks that did not raise your hand, and you would like to see this cult classic movie, when you leave the park today, make a left-hand turn. Go down the road about a half a mile or so, and on the left-hand side is a big blue and white building. You can't miss it. It's called Walmart, and they usually have copies of the movie. Now, the next spring I like to show you folks, we call it the Florida Snowstorm. You lucky folks are going to get to see Florida snow. I bet you didn't think you're going to see snow today, did you? This spring has two vents. Vents are what the water comes out of. The first vent we go over doesn't seem very active, but the second vent is very active. Give me a moment or two to get us down into this little lagoon here, and I will point them out to you. But in the meantime, enjoy the scenery. Sorry, what? Yep. Something you don't see all the time, man.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
There's a lot of logs in it.
All that is the cane on the bottom, which provides
Another fish.
food for the fish.
Now the first vent is starting underneath the boat right now. And as you can see, it's not very active. There's not a lot of stuff moving around down there. But the second vent right behind it is very active. Anybody seen snowflakes?
Yep.
Kind of looks like a snowstorm coming out of that hole.
That's what he's talking about. That's what he's saying.
Well, what Florida snow is, it's limestone, it's seashells being crushed by the pressure of the river up to the surface by the spring. This is one of the few springs in the system
See the snow down
that
there?
you can actually see water movement. Well, that's a lie. You can't see the water moving, you see the snowflakes moving. And it tricks your brain into thinking you can see the water. You can't see the water because you're looking through water at water. It's like looking through air at air. You can't see it. But you see the snowflakes. Now, as we're moving back out, we'll go back over the first vent again. And as you can tell, there's some snow coming out of it, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And your brain may be telling you there's not a lot of water coming out of this one. Well, you would be wrong. Both of these vents are into the same spring. But because this one doesn't have the snow, your brain thinks it's not flowing the same amount of water. Actually, these two flow just about equal amounts of water.
Oh, let's see more.
Now, as we're heading back out to the middle of the river, there's going to be an island on our right-hand side. This is called Bird Island. If you look up into the trees of Bird Island, you'll see these blackbirds up there. They are either ahingas or cormorants. Both are a fishing bird. But the ahingas have a really cool nickname. They are called snake birds. And the reason they are called that is because when they are fishing, their head and neck are above the water, and they look like a snake. You'll also see the ahingas up and down the shoreline, usually standing on something, with their wings spread apart. The reason they are doing that is they do not have natural oil in their feathers like ducks do. So they stand on something, spread their wings in the breeze and the sunlight in order to dry out. Well, we are rethinking that theory a little bit due to the fact that they are fishermen. And as we all know, fishermen are prone to telling stories. And the story they may be telling you as we go by in the boat, they're standing there with their wings spread apart is, yo guys, should have been here sooner. I caught a fish this big. Now, underneath the boat is grass. This is eelgrass or ribbon grass. It grows to be about 4 to 5 feet tall. When it breaks the surface, it looks like that grass around the island. Little fish love to hide in this from the ahingas and the cormorants so they can become big fish. And this is also the favorite snack of the manatee. We have 8 to 10 manatee that call the park their home year-round. We do get more during the winter. But because of having over 4,800 acres and a lot of it is wet, there is no telling when or where the manatee may appear. And that pretty much goes for all the animals in the park. Because none of our animals are fenced, caged, or corralled in any way. Now, about 8 weeks ago, we had a black bear wander through the area. He raised a few eyebrows. And at last count, we have over 300 rhesus macaque monkeys that call the park their home. The legend is the monkeys were left here when the Tarzan movies pulled out. That is false. Tarzan used chimpanzees, not the rhesus. The rhesus came in 1932 when there was 3 different boat rides here. There was the Glass Bottom boat, the Lost River Cruise, and then the Jungle Adventure Cruise. The Jungle Adventure Cruise was owned by a Colonel Tibby, who brought 12 of these monkeys to put on an island downriver So the people that bought his tickets and rode his boat had something different to look at. Well, when the monkeys were delivered, Chewie put them out on the island that very night. The next morning, he was on the first boat out with passengers. He wanted to see the people's reaction to his investment. Well, when the boat passed the island, the only one that had a reaction was him. Because Rhesus Macaque monkeys are one of the few monkeys that can swim. They got hungry during the night and swam off. They've been running around here now for close to 90 years. They obviously been very busy reappropriating because they went from 12 to 300. And they've been seen as far south as Fruitland Park and as far north as just south of Jacksonville along the St. Johns River. Now the next spring we like to show you is called the Blue Grotto. The water here at the Blue Grotto gets its bluish tint from the sunlight coming through the water, bouncing off the limestone bottom, and going back through the water. The water acts like a prism, yielding the bluish color. Scientists call this spring a spring of the first magnitude. Pretty much what that means to us, this spring will produce anywhere from 46 to 60 million gallons of water a day. Just a slight little water leak. Now, does anybody see any springs down there? How about now? Anybody see a spring?
Yes.
How do you know it's a spring?
I see fish.
There's a
Fish
vent.
doesn't mean it's a spring.
There's a vent.
Maybe because of the snow? But keep in mind, not all springs have snow. Well, being that this spring produces anywhere from 46 to 60 million gallons of water a day, you may ask yourself, where does all that water go? Well, as we're making our way back out to the middle of the Silver River, that's the river you've been on since you've been on the boat, I'll tell you. From out there, going east and to the right, it is 5.5 miles to the Ocklawaha River. Ocklawaha is Native American for windy or curvy water. The Ocklawaha then meanders more or less east by northeast until it bumps into the St. Johns River. The St. Johns River is one of the few rivers in the northern hemisphere that flows north. It flows north to Jacksonville, where it makes a right-hand turn and heads out to the Atlantic Ocean. The Silver River here has a 3 to an 8 mile an hour current, depending on where you are in the river. And from where you got on the boat to where it dumps out in the Atlantic Ocean is approximately 162 miles by water. And that's where our manatees swim in from.
Oh, bless you.
Now, if you start looking out the left-hand side of the boat, you're going to see a wooden structure. We call this Sea Hunt Dock. Sea Hunt was a TV show in the late 50s, early 60s, starring Lloyd Bridges. The premise of the show is he was a retired Navy scuba diver that used his skills to help people in trouble. Well, they filmed over 100 episodes out of here, and they wanted the viewing public to believe that they were in salt water. Well, guys, the only salt that was around here was on their margarita glass at the end of the day, because this is totally fresh water. But Sea Hunt is credited with starting the sport scuba diving trend. Now, some of the other movies that were done here, there's been over 40 movies done here and released. Besides the 6 Tarzan movies, James Bond did 3 movies here, at least parts of. Jerry Lewis did a movie here called Don't Give Up the Ship. And before he started to fly jets, early in his career, Tom Cruise did a movie here called Legend. And if any of you folks are Smokey and the Bandit fans, and you remember in Smokey and the Bandit 3, they had a boat chase scene. Look out the front of the boat. This is where they filmed it. Yes. There was over 40 movies filmed here and released. There was a lot more movies that were filmed here and not released. What's that? That's a lot. Yeah, sure is. Now, who can tell me what is this stuff hanging in the trees? You are correct. Spanish moss. Why they call it that, I really don't know. I've heard a number of different theories about it, but nobody can tell me what is true. Well, one thing I do know is true about Spanish moss, that one of the first commercial uses of it came from a gentleman named Henry Ford. You may have heard of him.
Yes.
Henry owned a place down in Fort Myers, Florida. He saw this stuff growing in trees. He sent his workers out to collect it. When they got enough of it together, they bundled it up and they shipped it to Detroit. In Detroit, they started stuffing the Model T seats with it. Well, what old Henry didn't know, and he couldn't Google at the time, was Spanish moss has a little bug in it called chiggers. So as the people are riding across the countryside, and they're brand new, shiny, any color you want as long as it's black, Ford, the chiggers were having lunch on the people's butts, forcing old Henry to have the first automobile recall in America. And guys, his second choice wasn't much better. It was horsehair. So thank your lucky stars for foam rubber. Now these people that were swimming on the right-hand side of the boat, they are a research group doing studies on the spring and the river. On the right-hand side, back behind us. Now, the Seminoles were the primary Native American nation in this area. A lot of people thought the Seminoles were a tribe, but they were a nation made up of smaller tribes. But their claim to fame is they were never defeated by the United States Army. And they never signed a peace treaty. Although the American government wanted to have a peace treaty with them, the Seminole Tribal Council just didn't trust the American government. Can you guys believe that?
Yes.
Not trusting the American government?
Absolutely.
Well, the Seminoles did want to play nice in the sandbox. So they called upon their warrior chief, Chief Osceola, to negotiate for them. The reason they chose Osceola was his mother was Creek, which is one of the tribes in the nation. Gave him his birthright as a Seminole. But his father was English and Scottish. Taught his son how to read, write, and speak English. Well, when Osceola went to the negotiations, the government gave him a parchment of paper all rolled up. They told him it was the treaty. And it said, as long as you behave yourself, we'll let you live on your land in Florida. We'll feed you. We'll clothe you. We'll give you medicine. But when he took it back to the council, he unrolled it and started reading it to them. He immediately realized that the words were different. Folks, look out the right-hand side past those kayakers. There's a male Ahinga bragging on what size fish he caught today. So when he unrolled the treaty, he started reading it, and he immediately realized that the words were different. If you behave yourself, we're going to pack you up and move you to Oklahoma. Well, the council's going, we don't know what or where Oklahoma is. But we do have a pretty nice place in Florida. I mean, look around, folks. This isn't half bad. So the council instructed their warrior chief, a Chief Osceola, to go and tell the government no. Well, the way he went to tell the government no was, he took the treaty. He unrolled it onto a stump. He took out his knife and he stabbed the treaty, thus symbolizing killing it. Well, unfortunately, that little gesture started the Second Seminole War. A few years later, Osceola was captured. His captors took him to a prison up by Charleston, South Carolina, where he died in captivity at the age of 34 of dysentery. Which is kind of ironic, since he came from this area with all this fresh water. If you look out the right-hand side of the boat, you're going to see a tan statue up on shore. That is Osceola stabbing the treaty. Now, if you folks can remember way back when we started this little journey, I said that this was the premier tourist destination in Florida. It predated the mouse by a lot. People came here to vacation. The way they got here was by steamboat. And when they arrived here, they thought that this was the end of the river. Well, this isn't the end of the river, folks. This is actually the beginning of it. Right now, we are heading to the first spring in the river. It is known as a head spring. We call it Mammoth Spring because the size of the opening. The opening of Mammoth Spring is 5 feet tall, 65 feet across. That's more than 2 of these boats put end to end. This spring will yield over 550 million gallons of water a day at peak flow. That is enough water to change the water in this basin we're in right now every 38 minutes. And if any of you are a James Bond fan, this cave may look familiar to you because it was used in the movie Thunderball, starring Sean Connery. The best Bond ever. Now we're going to make this little right-hand turn, and that big black opening up in the front of the boat under the glass there is the opening to Mammoth Spring. Keep in mind it is 5 feet tall and 65 feet across. Wow.
All that is
I'm going to
the
try to
vent.
get the boat to go sideways across that cliff so you guys can really get an idea how big this thing is.
All that's the vent, yes. All this black is the vent. Yeah.
How's that, guys, for review? Straight
Yeah,
down that
amazing.
cliff.
There's lots of stuff down there.
Yep.
You should get it.
The deepest part of Mammoth Springs that a person can get into is 55 feet deep. 55.
There's a fancy.
That white limestone sand in front of the cliff, or in front of the cave, is about 32 feet deep. Well, guys, there's probably one last thing I could possibly show you, unless you want to go back and get something to eat. Does anybody want to see that last thing?
Yeah.
You guys sure? Because you don't sound sure.
Yes.
Don't yell at me. In 1967, there was a very popular TV show called I Spy, starring Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. When they came here to do an episode, they brought with them statues that represented Greek gods. Well, when they were done filming and they aired the episode, they told the viewing public they were in the Greek Isles. Well, that was a lie, and I can prove it. When they got done filming here at Silver Springs, they started taking the statues out of the water. The people of Silver Springs had a hissy fit. So much so, they got up a petition that most of the town signed to leave the statues in the water. Well, after some negotiations from the production company, they left us 3. But the 3 they left us are the 3 biggies in Greek mythology. They will be Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. And they are starting under the boat right now. Zeus will be the first one. He's kind of standing by himself. Poseidon is the gentleman in the middle. And Hades is next to Poseidon. Everybody is up front to start the sand. Give me a moment, I do swim around.
Look straight down.
How's that, guys, in front? Start to swim?
Yeah.
All right. These gentlemen are in 31 feet of water.
Right there.
They are 7 foot tall.
Over here.
They are anchored there in concrete.
I'm taking pictures.
And they are made
Oh, I
of a
see
space-age material called fiberglass. You may laugh at that, but in 1967, fiberglass was considered a space-age material. These gentlemen were also in a James Bond movie called Moonraker, starring Roger Moore. In Moonraker, a giant anaconda snake came out from that bush to our left, met up with James Bond in front of these gentlemen, and they had a fight. The movie people said it was a trained anaconda. Does anybody on board know how you train an anaconda? Because I do not. Unfortunately, these gentlemen did not have a big contract, and they were cut out of the movie. But they were left in the movie trailer. Well, guys, does everybody see the statues? Get your pictures?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got to show you today. Does anybody have any questions? What's your question?
Why is there just a random
Where, do you get any drinking water from the springs?
People have died here. I don't know.
That explains the time.
Any other questions?
Do you get drinking water from springs here?
No.
None.
None. Once it comes out of the ground, that's it. None. Yes?
Can you swim here?
No, you could not swim here.
Why?
Well, they're swimming in a couple of the other springs around here, like Rainbow Springs. And what they're finding out is people are polluting the water. And what I mean by that is your shampoo, your conditioner, your deodorant, your shampoo, your suntan lotion, all contributes into polluting the water. And since Mammoth Springs is the largest limestone artesian spring in the northern hemisphere, they don't want to chance anything going wrong.
Yeah, you're
Does that answer your question? Anybody else?
Where are the manatees?
That's a good question. If I know, you would solve. Well, now, folks, the next part of the cruise we call Crash and Bang. We are going back to the dock. So please take a moment to look around your seat for any personal items. Any hats, glasses, sunglasses, phones, cameras, backpacks, pocketbooks, children, spouses. Sometimes that could be the same thing. Anything you leave behind and would like back, look on eBay tomorrow. I am very reasonable when I sell it back to you. But folks, I want to thank you very much for allowing me to take you down the Silver River and show you some of the spectacular scenery we call Silver Springs. And if any of you folks would like to partake in a 130-year-old tradition, you may do so by placing your gratuities right there on the glass that you have been looking through. For a better part of please don't touch the glass. For a better part of 130 years, we have been very good at disguising our tip jar as a glass bottom boat. But folks, I hope you enjoyed the ride. I hope I was a little informative and somewhat entertaining. And as we're heading back in, I have one last question. How many of you are first-timers? We have a lot in common, guys.
Here, want to throw that on the glass?
Just think about that for a moment as we're heading in.
Throw it in there.
Well, on behalf of, thank you very much up front. On behalf of Silver Spring State Park, myself, Captain Steve, my dock assistant, Ken and Caitlin, thank you very much for coming out today and partaking in the ride.
Okay.
Please stay seated until we are totally docked and the gangway is down.
Not right now.
When the gangway is down, you are free to move about the cabin. Enjoy the rest of the day in the park. You do have a beautiful day going on so far. If anybody's hungry or thirsty, check out the Springside Cafe. That was that food wagon you passed on the way here. Enjoy the rest of the day in the park. Get home safe. Come back and see us again soon. And if any of you folks would like to see either the statues or the costume worn by Rico, it's in our Discovery Center, which is in the building opposite this one where you're getting off at. I can't hear you.
That's what I'm thinking. It's got the mouth on it. There's a little bit bigger one in the back.
Says Florida Carp. I think that was for the sturgeon.
That's what I was thinking. Whoa! That's a big old boy.
Carp.
Look at this big old boy.
Is it live?
Yeah, it's alive.
Yeah, it's sleeping.
It's a big old boy. Okay, there's Steve Irwin right there with the baby.
Oh, I know where you heard it. But you guys ever see around over there? We should look at it.
But where's the thing?
Looks like everything's
Are those alligator heads? You wanna see what's back in these? Go in the back, right at me.
Oh, 4 footer.
They're not loose already.
Yours is about 4 footer.
Nou, Melissa, weet je nog wat ze vertelde dat die mannen het niet opkwam?
4 footer.
No.
Ze kwam nog met het pak.
No.
That's one of the